Hi everyone, I'm Stuart Hales, Pre-Sales Engineer at Tenzig Technology. In this video, I'm going to give a quick demonstration of how to set up a virtual environment for our Zero Client Operating System NOS and our client management tool, the Tenzig Manager. We wanted to give end users the capability to quickly get access to and evaluate our NOS operating system, along with trying this out using our management tool, the Tenzig Manager, in their own VDI environment, when time constraints for the end user meant they could not wait for physical endpoints to be shipped and delivered to them. As a result of this aim, we are making available versions of NOS for Citrix, VMware and Microsoft RDP as virtual machines using the open virtualization format that can be used with currently available virtualization tools such as VirtualBox, among others. You can use these virtual machines to evaluate the NOS operating system in a fully functional way, as they are not time limited or have restricted functionality. The scope of this video is to get the virtual demo environment up and running. For more details on configuring NOS, the Tenzig Manager, and other topics of interest, please check out our other how-to videos under the resources section at tenzig.com and also at our Tenzig channel on YouTube. So to get the NOS virtual environment up and running, you will need a host machine that will run the VirtualBox and Tenzig Manager applications. The NOS virtual machine will run from within VirtualBox. The host machine can be connected to your network, but you do not have to do this to evaluate the software. If you just want to get a feel for NOS and its interface, or even how it works with the Tenzig Manager, then you can configure the virtual machines to only have host access, creating a limited network between just the virtual machines and the host. If you do want to connect the NOS virtual machine to a live VDI platform though, then you most likely will want to have internal or possibly even external network access to allow for this. The virtual machine in this case would also benefit from using existing network services such as DHCP and DNS in this setup also. By default, the NOS virtual machines are set to use a DHCP assigned IP configuration, but can be statically configured if required also. So before you begin setting up the environment, you should first obtain a PC or server that will serve as the Tenzig demo host. Because of the applications that will be running on the host, we would recommend you try and stick to the minimum specifications in the table on this slide. For network access, as mentioned on the slide before, if you do not necessarily want to connect the NOS virtual machine to your VDI platform, but just see the GUI and how it operates with the Tenzig Manager, then you can limit network access to just the host only. Alternatively, if you do want to try and recreate as true to life scenario as possible and connect the client to your VDI platform, then you can bridge the host network interface to utilize internal or external network access. This is entirely up to you and changeable at any time. You will need to download the relevant software for your environment. In all cases, you will need a copy of the VirtualBox software application unless you wish to use another alternative of your choosing. You can also download the latest general release version of the Tenzig Manager from off our website at www.tenzig.com/manager or copying the link on this slide. Finally, you will need to download the version of NOS relevant to your VDI connection broker of choice. So for Citrix, you would download NOS-C, VMware NOS-V, and Microsoft RDP NOS-R. So to get the NOS demo environment up and running, we would normally follow the 8 steps on this slide. However, in the demonstration we're about to do, we don't need to download the software as we already have these pre-downloaded. So ordinarily steps 1 to 3 would have to be performed to obtain the required software. Once that is done, we can then start the process by installing VirtualBox to the Tenzig demo host. We then extract the NOS virtual machine OVF files to a location on the Tenzig demo host. For this, you will require a password to access the archive and extract the files. You can get the password by contacting a sales representative in either the EMEA region by emailing sales@tenzig.eu or for the rest of the world through our sales team in the US using sales@tenzig.com. With the files extracted, we can then import the OVF virtual machine into VirtualBox. Then finish the installing stage with installation of the Tenzig Manager. And finally, we could then run the virtual machine and just check that everything is up and running so we can evaluate the software. So let's demonstrate what we've outlined on the previous slides. So let's give this a try then and demonstrate the setup of a NOS virtual environment. I'm not going to dive too deep specifically into NOS or the Tenzig Manager at this time, For more details on those, you can look at further how-to videos on the tenzig.com website. So here I've got a machine which is going to act as my Tenzig demo host. It's a Windows 10 64-bit OS, and on the desktop we've just got a folder here which within it we've downloaded already the relevant software applications and files that we're going to be using for setting up this environment. So we've got the latest version of the Tenzig Manager, the latest version of the VirtualBox software, and also we've got a copy of the NOS operating system for the Citrix platform. So to begin then, the first thing we're going to do is install the VirtualBox software. So to start, we run the setup application, and the installation wizard is fairly straightforward. We can leave the majority of the configuration settings as the default values and just follow through the steps of the installation wizard. So once this is installed, it should automatically open to show that it is now installed successfully and running. There we go. So now VirtualBox is installed on the machine. Now what we can do is export the NOS operating system files to a folder on the Tenzig demo host machine. So extract the files from the zip archive, so they should now be in this folder here, the relevant files for installing into VirtualBox. So to import these into VirtualBox, open up the application and then click on the import button and browse to the folder where the files were extracted to. In my case on the desktop, go to this folder and this one here, and then just select the .ovf file within that extracted folder. Press next. So it will display the hardware configuration for this virtual machine. We can modify this before we want to run the application a little bit later on. We'll have a look at that shortly. So next we'll just click the import button and it will just install the virtual disk into the VirtualBox software. There we go. The last thing we need to do then is install the Tenzig Manager. So we'll go back into our folder where the software was, and in here we just need to run the setup application for the Tenzig Manager, which is the Manager Cloud Setup.exe. So start the installation wizard. It'll ask you for a password. It'll extract the files to a temporary folder and then begin the installation process. So there's 4 components to the Tenzig Manager, and just to keep it simple, I'm going to install all of them. So it starts the installation. At some point it'll ask me whether I want to assign a certificate for the cloud connector, so you can import your own certificate, or you can let the installer generate a self-signed certificate. So again, to keep it simple, I'm just going to press next. And then once this is completed, it will just then install the Tenzig web console. Okay, so now it takes me to the Cloud Manager Settings control panel. This is where we can assign a folder to act as our image store. So this is where it's basically a TFTP server, which will be allowed to transfer files to the clients and vice versa back to the server. So I'll just choose a folder on my C drive, enter some credentials, and I'll just test that connection. So just say yes to create the share. Okay, so now that's done, I can just press OK to complete the actual installation process. Okay, so it's asking to create a DNS service record, but for purposes of this demonstration, I don't need that, so I'll just press no. And then we can just finish the installer. And that's it. Okay, so now we've got all our software installed, we can go back into the VirtualBox application and just run our virtual machine just to check everything's okay. If I go back into VirtualBox, then I've got my virtual machine listed still, so just clicking on settings, I can also give it a more descriptive name. So Tenzig NOS C eval, for example. And then we can just click on the start button to boot up the virtual machine, which will take a few moments for that process to complete. Just remove that notification. So it's just checked the network connectivity through the bridged adapter, which is okay. And now it's ready. So we've got the initial setup wizard, which is always displayed with the new system. So we'll just go through these steps just to get to the main control panel. And that should be ready then. So we'll click on Great Britain for the country. Time and date is okay. And now we've got the main Citrix settings which we can configure for our environment. So if I now open up the Tenzig Manager, so that's running also, and it's automatically detected my machine. So just to prove that is connecting to the virtual machine here, I'll just right click on it and go to VNC to shadow it, and you can see here the shadow session is mimicking the window from the virtual machine. So we're now connected to that device and can configure it. And with that, this completes my demonstration for setting up a virtual environment for evaluating NOS with the Tenzig Manager. For more detailed information on either NOS or the Tenzig Manager, be sure to check out our further how-to videos either on our website under the resources section, or subscribe to our channel on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications of upcoming videos.